For more on this, let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director. Jonathan, this is happening over and over again. I mean, it's the definition of insanity, right? It just keeps happening, but more than insanity. I mean, this is really killing people. People who prevent ICE from doing their job have blood on their hands, no?
You're exactly right. And that family said the system failed them so many ways, but it didn't just fail them because of negligence or something else. It failed them because of deliberate policies of the Biden administration, opening the border and then allowing people that were caught at the border to just go into the country and receive virtually every benefit of American citizens. So we had the failure at the border, the Biden-Mayorkas failure, but then we have these sanctuary cities policies that are more interested in keeping illegal aliens in the country than they are protecting their own citizens. And it's astonishing to me that you would release this person. You'd rather put him back on the streets after killing this young man than having him deported. The whole thing it's so infuriating. It makes your jaw drop. And you're right. How many times do we have to see this? Because it happens over and over again. And the Democrats are so committed to this open borders mass amnesty agenda, nothing else seems to matter to them. And it's just so shocking, so horrific. But there's a family that is going to be grieving this Christmas and didn't have to be because of politics.
Well, there are a lot of families in that position right now. And there's a case that's even worse than that comes out of Fairfax County, Virginia, not far from where I grew up. Last week, there was a violent criminal. He had been arrested and released on a whole range of charges, some of which were violent. I think there were 7 actual arrests. And despite ICE putting out a detainer for the guy, he was arrested again. I believe it was early last week. There he is at the arrest. ICE had a detainer on him, and they let him go anyway because Fairfax County is a sanctuary territory. The next day after he was released, he allegedly killed somebody. I mean, this is extraordinary. And again, it's the violent criminal. I mean, it's bad enough when it's a driver committing vehicular homicide, but when you have a violent criminal who keeps getting arrested, he has an ICE detainer against him, and then he's let out in the street again to kill again. I mean, that is just absurd.
Yeah, it doesn't really get any worse than this, and he's an alleged gang member as well. But yes, 7 prior arrests, and rather than turn him over to ICE and get him out of Fairfax County, they'd rather put him back on the streets, I guess to spite Trump and also just to continue their mass amnesty agenda. But, you hear a lot of these Democrats, and particularly, some of the ones running for president, Governor Pritzker and others say they support, deporting illegal alien criminals. But I'd like to hear, I haven't heard a single Democrat get up there and say anything about this, because they actually don't support deporting illegal alien criminals, but they'll go to the mat for, Maryland man and have my ties with illegal aliens, but won't do a single thing to support American citizens and protect them from these illegal alien criminals, particularly gang members. Truly astonishing.
And by the way, there are aliens, legal aliens here being harmed by all this policy too. Right up here in Westchester, New York, right near the Croton Reservoir, if anybody knows the territory, there was a cabbie who was killed. He got into an argument over the fare with an illegal immigrant who'd been arrested several times, was in the backseat, who strangled him to death, threw his body in the Croton Reservoir, and was then arrested. And look at this jerk. He's smiling. He's mugging for the camera. And again, the person he killed was a legal migrant. This guy, I believe, was from El Salvador. The migrant killed, I think, was from Ecuador. Legal guy. He was here legally. He had a family, young kids, etc. I mean, it's hurting all kinds of Americans. Americans who were born here and Americans who came here illegally.
You're exactly right. And that one is absolutely disgusting, the smirk on his face. And remember, this is somebody that had been ordered deported, I believe in 2016, and he had never been deported. And that's one of the sort of scandals of the whole immigration system under Biden, when they would talk about giving people court dates and things like that, knowing that if they didn't show up for their court dates, they would never be removed. And one of the great things the Trump administration's doing and not getting enough credit, a lot of the people they're going after now are people that have been ordered by a judge to be deported. And you'll hear people complain that, oh, they might not have a criminal record, but they've already been through the process.
Yeah.
And this person may not have had a criminal record either, but he was supposed to be removed and he wasn't, and somebody's dead because of it. Truly scandalous, but the Trump administration is moving these people out so the rest of us will be safer.
But again, the detainers is what gets me, is that these detainers are legal. The detainers are supposed to trump the local laws that say you can't cooperate with, because these are federal detainers local officials are supposed to honor. Can't the Supreme Court, we are a nation of law and order, cannot the Supreme Court get directly involved and order these local governments to cooperate with ICE?
Well, yeah, there are a couple things that could be done. Could Congress step in and say, you're required to honor detainers if you're going to receive any federal funds? That would be a way to approach this. Other ways they could do it, the administration could withhold federal funds, or they could litigate it. And another thing that's interesting, these detainers, the reason they're not honoring them is because these municipalities are engaged in what I believe is alien harboring. They're shielding illegal aliens from detection and deportation. So criminal investigations could be launched. But yeah, you're right. These detainers are totally lawful under the INA. They should be honored, and the reason they're not being honored is because these localities are more interested in supporting the interest of illegal aliens and also fighting President Trump everywhere they can, and they get credit for both at the expense of the American people.
Jonathan, before you go, I want to flip to some good news about what ICE is doing, and it involves those more than 300,000 unaccompanied kids who were just lost by DHS in the Biden administration, or by HHS, I guess it was that they were lost. They were supposed to we were supposed to follow their movements in the U.S. because they came in without their direct adult. 300,000 were unaccounted for by the Department of, I guess it was Health and Human Services. Apparently now a good number of them have been found. Here's Tom Homan speaking to that. Roll tape.
Just reported last week, 300,000 children went missing under Joe Biden. They weren't looking for them. They couldn't find them. So far, the Trump administration kept its promise to American people. They've already located 129,000 of these children, thanks to the work of FBI, DHS, and HHS.
Now, this is very good news, but what happens to these kids now? Are they trying to find their families to send them back to their home?
I think it would be very circumstance dependent, if their families are here, or if they were the people that they were supposed to be with and they're safe. That's one thing. Or can they be sent home, be reunited with their families? Because a lot of the circumstances are different. What the biggest scandal of this is to have 300,000 people that nobody really under the Biden administration had any interest in where they went or if they were cared for. It's such a scandal. And Tom Homan talks about being up late at night thinking about many bad things that have happened to these kids, and it's so great that they've been all over this. Absolutely. But they shouldn't have had to be. It was under the Biden administration.
Well, thank God they're being accounted for now. They can't be lost. And Tom Homan, as you say, he made it a mission of his to find these kids, and he's found about a third of them, which is extraordinary service. Jonathan, thank you for your service. Appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful Christmas, Jonathan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.